Hello and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack, today is August 12th, and today's episode is going to cover discussion about ETH-only LEB8s. We're going to talk about Rocket Lend and it getting closer to audits and how you can help. We're going to be talking about GMC paying for tokenomics work and a whole lot more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so we're going to start here with some comments from Langers. So actually, let's just go back in time and see what Langers actually is replying to here. So these comments came in overnight, which was Monday in Australia. And here Paladin made a comment saying, I'm just catching up with, and this is discussing about ETH-only validators coming like within the next few months, potentially using some smart contract tweaks instead of changes or new code being written, and also a change to the rewards tree spec. So Paladin here says, just catching up on this, was kind of shocked that after all the developments of RPIP 49, there is a smaller, hackier version to get ETH-only minimums in the meantime. My first impression was Saturn 1 and 2 is the plan. This is a distraction. It's too much change back and forth around tokenomics. Big changes should be developed, telegraphed, etc. He said that said, Samus's argument that 1+ year of losing node operators while Saturn is developed isn't great either. Langers, I know you said you segment the team based off this and Saturn, but it's hard to imagine it doesn't distract the team. Do you have any intuition on how much this delays Saturn 1? Now, this was Langers' reply. He said, the capacity impact is limited because most of the work would be done by Patches, Thomas, and probably supported by Ramana and other members of the community. Fornax would have to be across the implementation from a code review and initial design perspective. Generally, testing effort is on the Smart Node team with community beta testers, but this is a large release, so we would want some structured testing to be in-house, although some could be bountied if we can figure out a way. A parallel stream of work would be distracting. And then there was another reply here from Hululo. So Hululo shared this chart that you can see on the screen that basically says what your rewards will be if you have an ETH-only validator and what kind of income you'll be earning. So the idea is that you will be getting 5% for your ETH-only validator in commission from our ETH holders. So that's way less than the 14% that you would get if you had fully collateralized RPL in position. And then as you add more and more RPL, you basically get closer and closer to that 14%. So that's kind of what it's looking like, and how some of the rewards will come from the mini pool contract and some of it will be coming from the rewards tree. So then Langers replied to this as well, says, I've been thinking about this a lot and I'm coming back to my impression about RPL value. He said, so is Saturn 1 RPL staking yield, and so implicitly RPL value increases with TVL. So there's a direct relationship between TVL and RPL value. And Langers goes on to say, from what I can see, there is not the same effect with the ETH only plan. Dynamic commission is not the same as URARS. And then he says, am I missing something? So Halulu says, that's correct. Dynamic commission is different from UARS. That's universally adjustable revenue split. It says in that excess revenue benefits our ETH holders instead of RPL benefits. It says we thought about emulating UARS, but it makes for a more complex spec, and there are complications with details like proto voter share not being claimable by the RPL withdrawal address without jumping through additional hoops. And Halulu goes on to say, I'd argue that with current tokenomics, RPL value is not a function of TVL, but that TVL is a function of RPL value. Intrinsic value is fixed in that 1 ETH worth of RPL unlocks the solo staking yield of 1.4 ETH. As long as this intrinsic value and other sources of value such as governance power are enough to make people want to hold RPL, TVL goes up. If it's not enough, TVL goes flat or even decreases as we're seeing now. And then Hulu says the intrinsic value is still here with the dynamic commission. Granted, it decreases from 1.4 ETH to 0.65 ETH with the curve shown above, but we could just increase the slope if that's an issue. Importantly, RPL value no longer bottlenecks TVL, and even if we don't want to solely rely on it, forward pricing already adds new source of value for RPL. In the meantime, that is in fact a function of TVL. So there's some back and forth going on here. I really like this comment from Valdorf that came in, and he said, to me the big thing is thinking about the state once Saturn 1 hits. Would I, as an RPL holder, prefer to have had the previous time period to capture more TVL using ETH only stuff or not? And he says, to me, the answer is yes. So he says, as a secondary answer, the cliff currently captures value if folks A, create new mini pools with the required levels of RPL, or B, top off for rewards, and C, there is sustained net demand for RPL beyond inflation. While there's surplus RPL floating around, we shouldn't expect the fundamental value capture to truly kick in. He says, right now, the requirement and cliff also damage TVL by D, causing folks to give up on making pools because they have to top off their whole node first, and E, causing some folks to exit mini pools to get back above the cliff. I don't believe the proximate value capture of A, B, and C are as big as forward-looking value capture from TVL of DE. In fact, it seems like A, B, and C are pretty rough state at the moment. So I kind of agree with what Val is saying here. In fact, I agree with him quite a lot. It makes a really good point, right? Like Val often does. He says that one of the things that I would add to this actually is that when the value capture mechanism comes in, and this is a point I made on this week's weekly orbit, for those of you who watch it, I said that you want the TVL to be as high as possible when value capture kicks in, because if value capture kicks in at the state that we're at now, at that point, there won't be much value to capture because the TVL will be so small, and we'd have to build up that TVL over the course of weeks and months in order to get to a meaningful amount where, you know, value capture is making a difference. I think I remember like some really old numbers that said basically if we started value capture now, it would be like 1,000 ETH a year, which is a very, very small amount, right? But if we grew like, you know, 3, 4, 5x in terms of TVL, by the time the fee switch gets turned on with Saturn, then the value capture actually starts having meaningful impact and like really shows, you know, with because the TVL is so high. So this is a discussion that's still ongoing. I really like that Langers and others are really engaging with these ideas in good faith, and I think that, you know, people bristle at the idea of ETH only validators because they're like, what's going to happen to my RPL bags? You know, with RPIP 49, there's this idea that you can have value capture, so you're going from indirect value capture to direct value capture, so you know the situation might be changing, but it doesn't feel as bad. Whereas with this, I think, you know, people are a little bit more scared, so they need to be convinced a little bit more. Samus here replied saying, I'd be curious to hear if you have any assumptions, expectations built in for migrations to mega pools in Saturn 1. Do you expect to retain close to 100% node operator ETH to migrate to mini pools eventually, or expect to lose X%? And if so, what's the ballpark figure for X? The higher the TVL for Saturn 1, the higher the carrying capacity will be for RPL as a fundamental value. And then he links to the UARS discussion. He says, by the way, made a quick couple of updates with new UARS values. Also added a Saturn 2, just rounding things to 1.5 ETH bonds, even though I'll be slightly less efficient than that due to bond curves. And then there's some more discussion as well from Samus here replying to things that Langos was saying about value and future value. So he says, also to be fair, the dynamic commission LEBA idea, current tokenomics also don't have a direct relationship between TVL and RPL value, and that's what we should be comparing against, since the default assumption would be maintaining current tokenomics until Saturn 1 if we didn't have an interim stepping stone release. So he says, from that angle, current value is dynamic commission idea as good or better than existing tokenomics for RPL value capture? And Samus says, I think yes. It says, future value will dynamic commission idea improve TVL going into Saturn 1? This is better for future RPL value. And then Sam says, I think yes. It says, that's just approaching from RPL value perspective. I think arguably more important is what would be the best for rETH. And the answer seems like it would obviously favor dynamic commission LEB8s over maintaining the status quo. So like I said, this is a discussion that's ongoing. There's a whole lot of moving parts to it. I'm trying to stay on top of it all, but there's a lot to it. But whenever I get pieces of information that kind of jump out to me, I'll definitely share that with you all. But yeah, like I said, this is actively being researched right now and discussed. So if you would like to share your ideas, if you'd like to share your thoughts and opinions on this topic, jump into the LEB only or ETH only LEB8 thread and share your ideas, because I'm sure people would love to hear them. Okay, moving on to this update from Ramana. So Ramana here is talking about Rocket Lend in the Rocket Lend thread. For those of you who don't know, Rocket Lend is app, I guess, kind of a lending pool kind of built on top of Rocket Pool, where people will be able to borrow RPL from it to stake on their nodes and also to set up new nodes. And Ramana is working on this system, with the community, and we're all in this together because it's a GMC funded product. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to do some really cool stuff. But anyway, Raman has been working really hard on this, and he is now kind of doing some refinements to the code and to the way that the protocol is set up. So he says, would anyone be up for doing a review of the README? So he tagged Noshua and non-fungible Yokum, but I think he wouldn't mind anyone looking at it. He says, I'm going to leave looking at the actual code and writing tests to later. The code part may only be to the auditors, but of course I welcome anyone to look at it if they want. So if you are interested in looking at the design of the protocol, then check out the README that Ramana links to in this post. But otherwise, it looks like we're getting closer and closer to the spec being frozen, and then the code will be changed, and then that will be frozen, and then I guess the test will be written. And I think they want all of this to happen within the next 2 weeks, because I think there's an audit slot that they're kind of aiming towards for later on in August. And I think the way the crowdsourced auditing works is that you get it for 3 or 4 days. I think it happens all within 4 days. I'm not exactly sure about that, but it looks like the Rocket Lend could be moving quite fast in the coming days and weeks. There'll be time for you all to get involved in testing. There'll be time for you all to get involved in reviewing the work. So please reach out to Ramana, go to this thread, read the README on the GitHub, and help however you can. Okay, so we were just talking about RPIP 49, which is the new tokenomics proposal that has gone in. Here, this is from the GMC thread, and this GMC thread forum, GMC channel thread is about paying out the tokenomics grant. So for those of you who don't know, the GMC in the previous round allocated $300,000 towards tokenomics work, and that was set in 3 different categories. One of them was pretty much very loosely like retroactive work, and that was for $125,000. Then there was a pot for core contributors and like as a grant, and that was for $100,000. And then there was a third pot for $75,000. Now, the core contributors to the tokenomics work are 6 people. That's Val, Samus, Guzzle, Noshua, Long for Wisdom, and I think Ramana. I think those were the 6 core contributors, and they have basically worked out who should be getting what as part of the retroactive part of this. So the dates for this were from November of last year all the way through to June, the end of May of this year. So this was like the retro part of it, and here there's $125,000 to be split, and we've got the splits now. So Valdorf got $47,000, Samus got $34,000, Scuzzle got $10,000, Noshua got $10,000, Long for Wisdom got $8,000, Yokum got $4,000, Ramana got $3,500, Pieter got $2,400, I got $1,100, Paladin got $800, Nick S got $700, Never an Island got $600, Ken got $600, RK got $500, Phil got $500, and Terrary got $250. So this here Schifrin says the GMC's decision was based on several factors, including the splits proposed by the core reviewers, contribution summaries, and peer review scores. Each GMC member proposed a split for every contributor. WAC and Ken excluded themselves due to a conflict of interest, because we were due to get some money potentially. And I said the Schifrin says these proposed amounts were then averaged and normalized. As a result, you may notice that each split is slightly lower than the core reviewer suggestions, which occurred during the normalization process because the reviewers were instructed not to include themselves in the total amounts. And it says the contributors have until Saturday the 17th to submit a revised proposal if they wish to do so. But if 4 out of the 6 reviews accept the current GMC proposal and opt to remove the deadline, the decision will be finalized immediately and the GMC will begin preparing payment. If you wish to do this, please type directly into the chat, "I accept the proposal and opt to remove the deadline," and then it says if no counter proposal are submitted by Saturday the 17th, then the decision will be finalized. And here then all the people got tagged to let them know the amounts. And I said thanks to Schiff, and there was a small error that Epinef caught, and Epinef says also I'd like to add that every one of these contributors had at least one person, both within GMC and the core contributors, wishing to give them a bigger slice, sometimes double or more, but that because of the apples to oranges comparisons of various contributions in various media, there were huge variations between core contributors, as high as 20 times in one case. We value all these contributors who helped move forward tokenomics for the retro period. And Samus was the first to say, accept the proposal and opt to remove the deadline. Then Val, Long for Wisdom, Ramana, and Noshua all said the same thing, that they opt to remove the deadline. I think I said Ramana, but I don't think Ramana was one of the core contributors here, but that was okay. But Noshua said it as well. So that's it. Like, 4 out of the 6 reviews accepted the proposal. So they'll be going out on the 14th, which is when the GMC normally pays out the money. So we'll have to put that transaction together and get it signed. But yeah, congratulations to all these people, myself included. I wasn't expecting any money for this, but I'm really grateful that the community valued my small contributions to the tokenomics discussion. But Valdorf, Samus, those guys were definitely the heroes of this, which is why between them they're getting $80,000 out of the $125,000. And this is really wonderful. So there's more money coming. It's not too late. If you are inspired by getting more money, then realize that there's still a lot of work to be done with tokenomic stuff. So if you start getting, if you start the work on that now, you'll be entitled to a pretty nice split of money in the coming months as well. So definitely keep an eye on that one. Okay, so this is a topic that's been coming up in Rocket Fuel a few times over the last couple of weeks, and this is about the core dev team funding. So here Scuzzle made a thread about getting it all set up and ready to go. And here, Scuzzle says each year the PDAO must vote to agree on the protocol development funding budget, and previous funding is 5% of RPL inflation. So by default, the team will be funded at 5% RPL inflation, again, unless anyone has any objection. If you would like to do something different in the following year, please voice it by August 28th, 2024. And then Ramana, Noshua, and others are involved in this discussion as well. I thought I saw Langer's reply, but maybe that was somewhere else. But it seems like there's a couple of things that need to be ironed out, such as like what the team is going to be working on in terms of their duties for the coming year, what their focus will be. Most likely will be Saturn 1 and maybe these ETH only validators that we were talking about earlier. But yeah, if you want to get involved in this discussion, then check out the link below to go to the thread created by Scuzzle, and you can contribute to that as well. So yeah, this is really cool, and I think the team are worth the money that we pay them. Okay, so next we have this DeFi update, and this is from Moonwell. So Moonwell said that OP and Well rewards are now live across Moonwell core markets on Optimism. So they have incentivized markets, including one of them is rETH. So if you are providing liquidity on those pairs on Moonwell, you can get some really good rewards. So have a look at this, and you can see that they're getting rewards from Optimism, and they're using Moonwell as well to become part of the community. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the rewards are, but I think they're quite nicely boosted. So if you are interested in earning some of those rewards, then check out Moonwell. Of course, as always, this is not any kind of endorsement of Moonwell. Please use DeFi protocols at your own risk. Okay, next we have news of a client update, and this one is from gETH, Go Ethereum, and gETH have new version 1.14.8, and they said this is a maintenance release with bug fixes only, so there's just a couple of bug fixes. So I guess, depends on if you are feeling that you've got any of these bugs, then you can update, otherwise just wait for the new version of the smart node. But yeah, 1.14.8 is the latest version if you're interested in upgrading your system to that. And then finally, we're going to end with some very exciting news out of NodeSet. Now, actually, let me read the post and I'll comment on it. So here, Wanda says to follow up on the above. So this is the announcement that the Constellation, which is NodeSet's Rocket Pool add-on, is going to audit soon. Wanda released a post saying to follow up on the above. The initial review was very valuable, and we are more confident in implementing a contract code freeze this coming week. Here's the game plan moving forward. So it says next week we'll continue testing and implementing changes originating from the review we had last week. And then Wanda says we'll begin spinning up internal devnets starting this next week as well. And it says ChainSafe will start their audit on the 19th, which is next Monday. And then Sigma Prime will begin their audit on September 2nd. So these two audits are happening really quick back to each other, which is actually really cool because in my projection of my timeline projection that I was giving last week, I thought it would take 4 weeks basically between the audits. So there would be ChainSafe on the 19th potentially, and then the next one would be Sigma Prime like a month later. But with this happening more quickly, I think that brings up the timeline of Constellation by at least 2 if not 4 weeks, which is really exciting. I'm really happy about that. So then it says, yeah, Sigma Prime will begin their audit on September 2nd. And then Wanda goes on to say, our next big milestone after contract code freeze is our first public testnet. We are working hard to finish all of the on-chain infrastructure needed. No timeline yet, but soon. And it says, note that our official bug bounty program will only begin after all audits are fully concluded, including addressing any issues raised, even if a public testnet is launched and the Constellation code base is revealed before this. And then Wonder goes on to say, along the way, we'll release a few articles detailing further info about 1, Constellation design choices and capabilities, and 2, other details about Constellation on mainnet. This is an exciting time for us since we believe Constellation represents an important step for Ethereum staking in general. Thanks for being part of the NodeSet community. Now, there was a little bit of doubt that was kind of thrown up by the comments that Nick made and Wanda made in the ETH only validators thread, the ETH only LEB8 thread that we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. And it seems like some of the discussion that kind of came up around that was like assuaged Nick and Wanda, because the point they were making was if these ETH only LEB8s come online, it would limit NodeSet's revenue income generation, so much so that they wouldn't be able to make enough money to pay for the audits. Now, they were saying that they would have an internal no-go, and based on the numbers they came up with, they would decide on whether they should proceed or not. Well, it seems like they realized that the ETH only validators would not impact them to the point where they would need to stop development of Constellation, so they are going ahead with their audits. Now, that is just me speculating on what happened behind the scenes. I've not talked to Nick or Wonder about this, so I can't give you any insider information or anything like that, of course. But what I'm saying is that it looks like Constellation is a go, and I think that not many people know this, right? But this is a very exciting time for Rocket Pool right now. We've got some really, really cool things growing in the community, and I've kind of developed this reputation in the community for kind of like cursing things that I get very excited about, tend to not work out the way that I'd hoped they would. But right now we've got 3 different things I think that could be very exciting for helping Rocket Pool grow. One of those, of course, the one that's been going for the longest is NodeSet's Constellation, their layer 2 on top of Rocket Pool, which is incredibly exciting. The second thing, of course, is Rocket Lend, which started a couple of months ago and is now reaching the point where they're about to go to audit as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rocket Lend releases first, and then Constellation, in terms of these Legos built on top of Rocket Pool. The third thing, of course, that would potentially drive TVL massively is the ETH only validators that we might be able to bring online. Now, with those, it seems like all three of these might kind of, well, Constellation and those might kind of be going online at the same kind of time, potentially. I don't want to give timelines, but, just for speculation, potentially like sometime in October or November. Rocket Lend has the opportunity to come online a little bit earlier than that, potentially end of September, beginning of October, if everything goes really well. And those are all subject to change, of course. If Nashu's watching, he's probably thinking, yeah, add 2 months to each of those times, because that's how he always thinks. But this is a very, very exciting period for Rocket Pool. Like, we've got some really, really cool things coming that hopefully can all potentially grow TVL significantly. Now, I'm going to try to curb my excitement and curb my enthusiasm and just wait and see what happens. But I'm really happy that, the community as a whole and these protocols and projects on top of it are doing some really cool things to help Rocket Pool grow. And like Wanda says here, right, like this is, he says that this is an important step for Ethereum staking in general. And like, I really believe that a successful Rocket Pool and a diverse Rocket Pool is more beneficial for Ethereum than almost any other protocol out there, because what Rocket Pool adds in decentralization, what Rocket Pool adds in trustlessness, like, to Ethereum as a whole, credible neutrality, of course, all of these like incredibly important values, Rocket Pool like helps make Ethereum stronger. And with that in mind, like I'm very, very excited about this upcoming period. I'm not going to talk about any like RPL price action, any of that kind of stuff. I've been wrong so many times on that. But what I'm saying is, for the protocol itself, I think we are on we're heading towards very exciting times, and that is with all these cool things that are happening now. But of course, with next year with Saturn, hopefully Hululu says end of Q1, which Noshua likes to give him a hard time about that as well. But hopefully, within 9 months, we'll have Saturn 1 live as well. This is a really, really exciting time for Rocket Pool. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you're all as excited about Rocket Pool as I am, and hopefully, we can go into this period like experiencing really cool things together. The way it's kind of starting to make me feel is like, that lead up to Atlas and how there was so much positivity and hope in the air. There's a few more doubts now than there were then, I guess, because of the price action and stuff. It's just led to some negativity, and like, now we have these LRT tokens and stuff that weren't around then. But I think the potential, the platform that we're setting ourselves is a really exciting one. So I'm gonna sign off here. So thanks everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow. And just to add, I'd probably start covering more Ethereum news in Rocket Fuel again for the next little while, because Anthony Sassano is traveling around Europe, and I might try to help his audience a little bit by providing more Ethereum news. But that'll be starting from tomorrow. So you can get that stuff too. Anyway, thanks. Bye.